Hello, I'm Adele Abrams, and I'm going to be your instructor this semester for employment and labor law from the HR perspective. This is going to be a survey course where we cover an awful lot of material. You're essentially getting 5 or 6 law school classes in a 7-week period. But don't be alarmed. While there is a lot of reading for the first week, things will slow down a bit after that. And I promise that I'm viewing this as a survey course and not a deep dive into any of the individual legal subjects. But having said that, we're going to be, in the first week, covering, again, a lot of material, contracts and tort law, which, believe it or not, are individual courses if you do go to law school. We're also going to be looking at employee privacy issues. We're going to be doing an overview of the history of the labor movement in the United States that led to the National Labor Relations Act being passed, and a number of the other pivotal civil rights and worker rights laws that we now have in effect. Beyond that, we'll be looking at issues including independent contractor and employee classification, what the distinctions are in those different categories, and a whole lot more, and that's just in the first week. Now, this is the point in the program where I need to pause and say, we are living in some interesting times, and I know that's not a surprise to any of you, but this is the first time that I've taught where we've had a presidential election coming down in the middle of the semester, and one that has the potential to really have an impact on employment and labor law, not just now, but even for generations to come. We also have, as I'm recording this, a pending Supreme Court nomination for ACB, as they call it, Justice Barrett. And again, a lot of what we consider to be precedential law could very well be overturned. Again, I am an attorney, of course, as well as a practitioner in the safety and health field. But when I was listening to the confirmation hearings, and they were discussing what is super precedent versus what is precedent, it became very clear to me that a lot of the decisions that we rely upon in our textbook may be undermined depending upon her confirmation hearing and indeed how the outcome of not only the presidential election but also the election in the Senate proceeds here in a couple of weeks. So stay tuned. But we also have the COVID-19 pandemic, and that is number one issue right now for HR practitioners. How to deal with this from a safety and health perspective, return to work perspective, workers' comp perspective, and family and medical leave. Oh, so many other issues that will tie in with things that we're going to be covering later in the semester. Concepts like caregiver discrimination, for example, HIPAA. And so my point, I guess, is that between the elections and the developments in COVID, even though we are using a brand new textbook, which is the 10th edition, make sure you have the right one, 10th edition of Sihon's Employment and Labor Law, it's a 2020 edition, but it did not anticipate some of the factors that I'm talking about here. I'm going to try to keep you abreast of any really critical developments that could undermine the legitimacy of any of the information in our textbook. And in the announcements, I'm separately posting links to both the EEOC latest policy on COVID, which does impact things like the Americans with Disabilities Act, but also posting what OSHA's latest guidance is as to COVID. And these things are changing very quickly. I have whiplash as a practitioner trying to keep up with all of these changes since March, but I will try to make sure you have access to the latest, because I know some of you are currently practicing in the field in addition to going to school, on a part-time or even a full-time basis virtually. So do stay tuned for all of that. Rest assured that I am not out to play gotcha, and if it's late-breaking information, I'm not going to be including that on the quizzes. I'm not going to be including that in the final exams. I may put some things out there for discussion and hope you'll kick around some ideas there, But the bottom line is I want you to get as much out of this course as possible. As I like to say, learn enough here just to be dangerous. But if you are going to be working in the HR field, you're going to want to know what could be tripwires for various causes of action against the company and even against you personally. So that is really where we're going this semester. I do hope that you will reach out to me. My email personally is safetylawyer@gmail.com, and that usually gets the quickest attention, but I am checking, of course, the university's email daily as well. If you have questions or concerns about the volume of material or how to find cases, you can either send me a question, and I'll try to post the resources for everybody so everybody has equal access to the information. And just in general, if there are items, issues that you want me to touch on, let me know, and I'm happy to do so. I will post some PowerPoints of my own as we go into the semester on things like medical cannabis, which before COVID-19 was probably the biggest HR issue. And again, it's touched on lightly in the book, but there's 4 more states that are looking at legalization in the coming election. And if so, that is going to swing the balance very heavily toward the majority of workplaces being in states where either medical cannabis is legal or recreational cannabis, or both. Colorado, of course, has been in the vanguard of all of that, but I realize that we have students from other states as well, or those who may work in multiple state situations. So there you have it. Again, my name is Adele Abrams. Safetylawyer@gmail.com is the quickest way to reach me in case of any emergencies, and I look forward to hopefully a fun semester and one that will be rewarding for you in terms of your professional development. Thanks, and have a great semester.